The first time I actually came to Puntland and I took over the leadership, my top three priorities were one, to reform the ministry system in terms of the employee, having an HR policy in place, and also creating a structure for the departments. The second priority was to get the female genital mutilation policy signed and launched within the same year. That was my biggest dream, something I thought it would be very difficult, but I never thought it would be impossible to do. And it's something that I've succeeded, thankfully. And the third was to visit places that former governments or many officials have not gone to, that were very far, and people were suffering in terms of the lifestyle, economically, educationally, intellectually, socially. Now that the FGM has been launched, and that there are, of course, other policies that the ministry needs to prepare for. One thing I've been concerned about was the high violence cases. Therefore, we're now working on gender-based violence policy. And then there's the child protection policy. And those two policies are the ones that we're working on this year. I think as a minister that the sky is the limit. There are obstacles, a lot of them, as a woman, as a minister, and also as a leader in a place that have been suffered a lot. We had a strategic plan for the coming years established, particularly for the ministry. And one of the key priorities is to make sure that FGM is eradicated by 2025. It is extremely difficult dream to achieve or goal. However, it is possible if we go through the processes that we have designed, which is approaching this issue in a holistic way. You would have to educate the society and notify them that there are laws in place and they will be held accountable. And there are consequences for those that are cutting. But then another thing that's really tied with FGM is the economical need that women need to have, which oftentimes the cutters are doing it for profit purposes. So our responsibility is to establish that bill, to educate the decision makers, both cabinet members and parliamentarians. Then also have the religious elders on our side, because we need to talk about this on a religious perspective. And by getting the cutters to become advocates, then we're able to actually educate the mothers, grandmothers who are so keen and eager to see their daughters and granddaughters being caught. And establish strict monitoring and evaluation system. So FGM is quite excruciating pain to the women who have gone through. And it's very threatening to the lives of the girls that are on the verge of being cut, as well as the women that are cutting, that may not necessarily be trained as cutters, because reports have it that, and rumors as well, that most of them are actually trained for becoming nurses and midwives. So having this bill in place is actually going to help us hold them accountable. And our president is very keen on this. He wants to see this, gruesome process and procedure put to stop completely. Women can't really partake either making, decisions, partake in decision-making processes, making, really developmental goals for their lives and for their children. Because right now they're trying to survive. And that's why so many women are set to cut girls, because of economical need. Even if you actually empower the women to become advocates without financial support, then they might be doing it behind our backs. I think the challenges are the lack of basically a modules or training or a system where women can follow, understanding the pathways to design a business plan, to request a loan or request the money to be funded for their business ideas. So with all that, it seems that there's a high need for having a business development center that women can come to. And they can often seek advice or information when they need help after they establish their business. However, there are certain regions where women are part of the local government. However, they're not being assertive enough. They're not being bold. They're not speaking up because they're not necessarily weak, but educationally they're not prepared. Intellectually, they're not encouraged or empowered. And socially, they're not able to stand up for themselves and for their rights, let alone for other people's rights. We need more women in the government. But I'm not just looking at the gender. I also want to look at balancing having the gender, being a female, educated, experienced, that has confidence. History has talked about how women led before, how they were teachers, educators, that others listened to them. And now, centuries later, we're boasting to the idea of women being leaders. And for me, speaking on behalf of people who've been suffering and still suffering because of many factors, of course, I don't see myself or worrying, oh, you're a woman, what if they say you can't speak? Because that's not in my head. What is in my head is we have a problem, and I need everyone, men and women, to join me to fix this problem so we can create a better change for our society and we can all grow together. And if some of us are standing aside and they're denying this and they're opposed to such change because it's a woman that's leading it, then they need help and we are ready to educate them. We actually lived in the suburbs of Minneapolis, and yes, I was educated there, and it was quite a surprise actually becoming a minister because I wasn't part of the politics in Somalia. I didn't even actually dream on becoming a minister at all. It was very interesting because someone actually recommended that I, serve the people, and it was a conversation that he had with the president. Allah guided him to select me, and I felt it was a reason. There was a reason that I was selected for this position and that I should go there and serve the people. And at first I felt there will be huge challenges because I believe that if we're gonna take an action and make a difference in people's lives, no matter what it takes, we will persevere, we will keep going, and I don't take no for an answer. And at first coming to Puntland, I felt that might be impossible to do so, someone with my personality, but then I realized actually I'm one of the people that are needed there. And so I'm still there, looking forward to make more differences, empower women and children and men too, and to likely see that we all agree to work together for the greater good, because that's what matters. Our terms are limited, but our passion and desire to help people should never stop, regardless of what title we have.